Okay, so first of all, let's just locate the dantian. It's a thumb in the navel. And now it's just try some just breathing. So just tightening, pulling the navel in. So it's like you're trying to suck your thumb into your belly. And then you just push it back out again. So. Okay, so we're just aiming to get the spine breathing, so real flexion and extension. And now just a few, just so looking up and then looking down on top of the fingers, really stretching the back of the neck and up again. And one more. Just aim to get the arms as locked at the elbows as possible. And now just a few, just turning the head. Right. And now just a few with the stick. Yeah, so each time, just try and get around just a little bit further. So you should be able to sort of get around. So the stick is sort of along the direction that you're normally looking. And then just a few. Just a few more twisting. So all the while, the belly, the dantian is really pulling into itself. Okay, let's just try a few pulling and pushing. So just pulling the stick. So something in you is waking up. The spirit is waking up. So the upper chest. And then just pressing the stick, the hands pushing towards each other. So a sense here that that spirit is sinking down into the dantian. And then pulling again. Now it's rising back up into the thymus. And then pushing again. One more pulling. So just feel that elastic connection between the dantian and the middle dantian, the heart. So it's stretching. That line is stretching. The spine is extending or trying to. And then just pushing, and now that line is shrinking. Yeah, so for me, Plato's cave is the dantian. It's home. It's where we belong. Yeah. Sometimes we venture up into the heart, but we always return. So just, I was because I spend so much time meditating now. It's like I don't want to be up. So there's a sense when we stand, you want this feeling that you're standing up, obviously, so that you can move around. But there's part of you that's just trying to pull down to the ground. So the legs always have this dual aspect. Yeah. So part of me is pushing, but part of me is pulling as well. And those two are contending with each other. Okay, so let's just breathe. Again, this is just to get the spine breathing, really, feeling the center in the dantian. So the dantian tightens, and that pulls the hands in, bends the spine double, and also sucks you down to the ground. So the legs are pulling the ground as though trying to pull the ground into the dantian. So the same way that the hands are coming in here, the feet would like to do the same thing. Yeah, so just feel what your hands are doing, really opening up here and then really screwing up into tight fists here. So basically your feet are just wanting to do exactly the same thing. So the feet are really curling up and then toes extending. And just trying your best not to stick the bum out here. So the sacrum remains relatively stable. So if the top of my spine is coming over, then I want the bottom of my spine, my tail, coming under. Here. And then here the tail can go back a little bit. Okay, and then just riding horse. So just feel the more you retreat inside this posture, the center of which is the dantian, the more you tend to rock back onto the heels. And now let's just come onto the toes. So just lifting the heels. And this sense that you just become a different creature. So you lose the roundness and you become spirited. And then just rocking back into the heels, one at a time, then it's a bit more controllable. And now you just swell back out into the round posture of riding horse. So a real sense that you're earthing now through the heels. And then just coming onto the toes again, so just lifting the heels. And just feel it just becoming alive, really. Just all the while trying to keep the sacrum heavy, dangling through it. So the bum will tend to go out a bit when you lift the heels, so you just let it settle. And then just rocking back into the heels. Yeah, so as you slowly regain riding a horse, just the last thing to come really is just the sort of the roundness in the lower back. So the sense of the min-men going back. So this is really that just allows you to settle here. If you have the sway back, then there's always a force thrusting your energy up into the head. So here I'm just rounding this out, and then I just naturally want to come down to here. So when we come onto the toes, we just have to make sure what we're trying to do is really just activate the heart. So we don't want the energy to come up into the head too much. Yeah? So when I come onto the toes, John used to say it's as though you acquire like one of those burnished breastplates that the Greek warriors used to wear. And they'd shine it until it gleamed. And then the sun would reflect out of it into the enemy's eyes. So this sense that or you can think of like a medallion. But just feel this really tight, retaining its centrality. And now when you go back into the heels, just feel the heels extending backwards before they then cut down and under. So we want this circuit all the time from the heels. So the energy from the heels, it's sort of long energy and slow. So I've got this sort of rooting energy that comes down under, but then there's a sense of a circuit that I'm enclosed within. And then the energy of the toes is just quick. So when I come onto the toes, suddenly I acquire the possibility of speed, fleet of foot. And then again, just rocking back and cutting under. It's really as I round out the back, that's when it cuts under. And then just feel the equilibrium, so the balance between the heels sinking down and the toes wanting to just grab some of that energy and lift it up. So I can just play with my distribution of my weight upon my feet to keep these two energies always in play. Okay, now let's just go round the feet. So just now the figure of 8. Now, so what I would like with this is not to move side to side too much. So to get it more coming from the turning. So the legs are very active, but they're producing turns rather than movements side to side too much. Yeah, so psychologically, I just always want this feeling that I'm wanting to sort of get my hands into the ground. I'm wanting to get my hands dirty. Yeah? So just feel the sacrum either side. So the imaginary tail. So one tail either side for each leg that comes out of each side of the sacrum. So somewhere here, somewhere a tail is reaching down and cutting under the foot. So that's something that I intend with my mind. Okay. And now just coming down, just touching the ground, feeling your arms earthing, and then coming away. And then again. So you have this elastic connection with the ground. So as I push away from the ground, there's the elastic stretching, but it wants to pull back down. Yeah, so it's all meditation. So it's all watching the mind. Yeah. So even though my legs breathe a sigh of relief when I come up, something in me is bereft. Something in me has lost a friend, if you like. And now just squatting down. So again, feeling the heels cutting under and then coming onto the toes. Heels. Okay, now let's just stretch the leg. And then the other side. So nothing helps the form quite like just groundwork like this, groundwork in the sense of working closer to the ground. Yeah, so a lot of our reluctance to sink physically when we do the form is just because this area is not really open. And I don't have a proper feeling for the ground. So by working like this in various stretches, various movements, you just get this feeling that this is where you belong. You're a peasant, groveling in the muck. Okay. And now just pulling one side in, but it's more like just beginning to get into the alternating figures of eights with the two hands. Yeah, so just feel, so the fist basically just becomes the bottom of the figure of eight and the open hand becomes the top of the figure of eight. So what I want to feel is this fist almost grinding out the hollow of my leg pit. And again, the intending mind. So the intending mind is very much like a physical mind. Feeling the mind with these sort of physical qualities. It has inertia, it has mass, doesn't really want to move, so I really have to mean it. And just feel the sinking. So the sinking is not just a movement of your body towards the ground, it's a desire. It's a desire inside you to get down to the ground. And that is countered by this desire to come into the ego, which is the tension in the lower back that makes me rear up from the ground. So if you're sinking, then you're always feeling this draw down towards the ground. Okay. Now let's just turn it. So just getting the 2 feet pushing against each other. So what we want is to feel that action of just turning to the side, turning into bow and arrow, as widening this part here. So the 2 sides of my body sort of stretch apart as I apply the pressure to get myself round to this corner. And then when I relax that, it's like the elastic springing back. And then here, just feel the turn and the expansion across here. So you really have to keep yourself down, squat. So this has the same sort of excitability as when we come onto the toes. It's always a feeling that the tail wants to go back a little. So the tail is just sort of waking up. So to actually get my energy up into the heart, the tail has to sort of start extending backwards a little bit. Again, it sort of wakes up. It's like a creature. And then this is sort of just now the tail is sort of coming under. Now the tail's involved in this sort of long energy, this slow rooting. And then as I turn to the side, if I can keep this expanding, you can feel it, the tail it goes at just a fraction, but it's enough to bring that excitement into the body. And just for these two upper centers to wake up a little bit. And then just back. And now it's like the sacrum and the tail just become one thing that is just cutting under like this. So when we turn to the side, the sacrum sort of remains like that, but the tail tries to go. I mean, if you touch it, it doesn't do anything physically, but it feels like something in there is going back a little bit. And then this just sort of flares. It just opens up and starts to shine a little bit. And this center as well. And just back to the front. So this is like a general flattening. So the excitement is now drawn back in and settled in my dantian. So this is like the stony stillness of meditation, of just coming to that still, silent center. So it's cold as well. It's almost cold-hearted. It's like reptilian. Yeah. And then when I turn to the side, there's like a brightness can come out of it. I don't lose it because that's my foundation. Without it, I lose my root in the ground. But now there's something else there as well. And then just letting that relax back to the front. And I retrieve this. So just allowing the lower back to just round out again. And then just one more this direction. So just feel this action as well as this. Yeah? And then just letting it come back to the front. Okay. And now let's just figurating in order to lift the legs. So as I go around this foot, it enables the other leg to lift. Yeah, so really going out with your hand here to balance the extra heaviness that on this side that is imposed when I lift the foot off the ground, when I take the weight of the leg off the ground and hold it myself. Again, with this feeling that you're really trying to get down there, yeah? Even if it means the spine becoming too curved. Yeah, so Nitsan pointed this out to me that, you know, often in order to correct a balance, you need to privilege something that's actually wrong. Yeah? So we're just so out of balance, we're so much in our heads and not on of the ground that we just need to just make an extra effort to get down there. So even if it means, you know, the spine really sort of becoming a bit silly. Yeah, so this, yeah, you should be able to almost bite your toenails. Yeah. And that will come if you do work close to the ground, you know, squatting with the legs straightening. Yeah, so I need a much stronger sense of the ground, of its presence and its importance, but also I need a much stronger sense of the territory just outside of my body, so sort of here, in that where the peripheral vision would be. So you can feel just how healthy it feels, you know, when I've got a significant part of my body basically outside of my territory, because there's something really sort of nourishing about the energy that's beyond me. My own energy is best given away. Self-yeast of spirit, a dull dough sours. It's one of my favourite phrases. Yeah, so it's almost like I'm tapping into something other here, something that's bright and nourishing. And it enables me to really settle on the boundary of my territory, which is the best place for me to be in the center. Is not that nourishing, you know, it's settling, but I want part of me out here. Ugh. And so the more I can sink, the more this will actually come up. The more free the leg will actually be. Okay, so let's just bring it back. So again, just going around the feet. So just feel the pathway, heel around the outside edge, through the toe, so the big toe, and then into this heel. And I really want to get away from that feeling of being on top, looking down at something. If I can get behind it, there's almost a sense that I'm actually looking at it from underneath. So this is the feeling I want. This is just, it's not good posturally or energetically. Yeah, so we really, you know, we do just need to become peasants. You know, remember those beautiful paintings that Edvard Munch did of farmers? And it just looks like they've just sprouted out of the ground. They've got these amazing bow legs, just like riding horse. And they're elemental. So the bourgeoisie, us, you know, that we tend to, we model ourselves on the aristocracy, those that don't really work or get their hands dirty. Yeah. So we have aristocratic graces, heirs, but none of the class or the education. So what we'd like is to go the other way, yeah? To aspire to be a peasant, a farmer, someone that works the land, someone that's always dirty. just see how deep you can get. I mean, we should be able to just, it's just, like you're in the mud and your hands are swilling in it as well. Okay. Remember, this is home. Danshan is home. So instead of it just being that place down there that I have to imagine, we get into the Danshan more by coming up into it. We get right down, and then this is, so the Danshan, as John always used to say, if you're properly sinking into your posture, then your Danshan will rise up towards your face. Okay, now let's try just the figure of 8 within each foot. So we've done the figure of 8 where each foot is one of the loops of the figure of 8. Now I just want to really feel how the foot goes down when I walk, when I place it, So I place the toes first, and then it's like I go through the foot with like a figure of 8. So the toes go down, the big toe pulls back into the outside edge of the heel, and then the heel cuts under, and then I can pick this foot up. So there's a figure of 8 within my foot. Yeah. So I just want to feel the heel that gets under. So I'm going around the heel this way. So when we just do this, I'm going around the heel this way, but now it's like this. So something in the heel really gets under the ground and scoops up, So I'm going round the heel, and then it comes up into the bubbling well, if you like, and then around the toes. So, ooh. And again, I have to intend it, because what I'm wanting basically is for the foot just to become really flexible and malleable so that it can actually twist, And you can just, it's difficult walking because the field of vision of the camera is limited, but, just doing a walk around the room and just really feeling that cutting under the ground with the heel, it will then just bring this right up. So it's just splitting the foot into the two parts, the front and the back. Just feeling the figure of 8 as it's almost like you're just traveling around this pathway and just always avoiding the middle of each circle. Because if I fall into the middle, then for me anyway, because I've always had bad knees, they just get really compromised. So here I'm just on the edge all the time, just like riding horse. I'm swelling out into those outside edges. Because basically, if you watch people walking and just consider your own feet when you are walking, the feet are so inactive, because they've been in shoes most of our life. They've been protected. They don't have to work. So we're all flat-footed, if only a little bit. So I want to feel this foot really really writhing on the ground. And so getting under it, getting in it, so it's getting under like this, it's getting under like this. And even the big toe is sort of cutting in like this. So when you put the foot on the ground, the toes go down first and they start curling. And it's that curling of the toes that starts that movement around the figure of eight. Because the important part of the figure of eight is going from the big toe and hooking through the middle to get to the outside edge of the heel. Yeah. So that's the bit we need to make extra effort at. I mean, it's quite easy. It's easy to feel it. It's more difficult to get it actually physically happening. So my toes go down first and then my heel goes down. But it doesn't just go down like this. It's going round like this. It's again with like the ice cream scoop. I'm scooping something out of the ground with it. And again, the intending mind is fierce. It's something in me has to almost get angry to make it happen because my stupid body doesn't really want to do it. It's like how do you learn something new that you've never done before? You need that injection of the magic ingredient of spirit. And that's all intention is, really. Intention is just mind and spirit just working together with ferocity. I was teaching this Israeli guy, and I said, fierce, fierce. And he didn't know what the word was. He thought I'd said fearless, yeah, which is very similar, yeah. So John used to say, the enemy is fear. So you need something, you need real sort of fierce bravery to cut through those moments of wanting to just withdraw from reality. And that's, for me, what the bourgeois life is. It's just one always retreating from the real. So we've made an environment for ourselves now that is so appealing that the imperative, the compulsion, the desire to actually find something real is just dwindling and dwindling. Okay, so let's just bring it back to riding horse. Let's just squat down again, but again, so all the time trying to do the work yourself rather than letting gravity do it for me, because I can just release it, gravity will take me, but I want to just get it, it's on my terms, and fuck gravity. So I use the legs and I just pull myself down. And I just feel myself and being empowered by my own spirit. Now I see that, with the kids, with Ty and her friends, they're just, they've never really had to work for anything. They're lovely kids, but they've just got no internal power. And so they're just full of expectations and entitlements and demands. Again, just coming forwards. And if you can, with that intending spine, so your sacrum sort of extending under the ground. So psychologically, you're coming up into the dantian as much as you are sinking down in it. That's really important. Let's just sit. And just feel it. So even the cushion that we sit on in meditation is too high and is a barrier. Yeah? So here, just feel the stone or the wood or the carpet, and the sense that your tail is getting underneath. Yeah? Your own rooting energy is almost undermining you. So again, the dantian just always contracting. So we just have to look at it and just watch it. Because if the mind has started to talk, if language has entered and the mind is now thinking in words, then it's because you've got the sway back. Now, when you're like this, it's difficult to have a sway back because your back is naturally your min meng is naturally being pressed back, which is why people don't like this. And also why it's so important. Yeah, so when I place my hand, there's basically two things there. There's the weight of the arm, which is sort of falling down into the hand. But then there's the draw of my Dan Chen, which is trying to claw at the ground, trying to suck something out of the ground. So we just want to feel those two. It's the same with the legs, yeah, when we're standing. Yeah, so the weight of my arm is sort of falling down onto like this outside edge. And it's my fingers that are clawing at the ground. So the Dan Chen is making my fingers do this, yeah? And that's lifting here. Yeah, so the hands are just exactly the same as the legs, really. The hands and the feet, legs and the arms. Okay, now let's just want this feeling that my sacrum can just rock back, yeah? And then I can just cycle with the legs, yeah? So just keep the Dan Chen tight. Feel the Dan Chen just above the sacrum. The sacrum is now flat, sacrum and half the lower back. So what we'd like here is to be able to just figure of eight the legs like we do the arms, yeah? Now, obviously, the legs don't have as much freedom of motion, but this feeling that my sacrum is now rocking on the floor. Now, this should feel relatively easy now. And then just coming up. Just feel just how far away the ground feels now. Yeah, so something in me is just wanting just to get back down there. It doesn't like being up here. Yeah, let's just, again, just keep the tightness here. So part of me is wanting to just shrivel down. Okay, so let's finish.